And look at that. No thumb. And that's what I have. That's pretty good, right? Whew. Before we begin, I'd like to show you how I transport my units. Now, I always have my reels and neoprene covers to prevent it from getting scratched up or dirt getting on it or whatever else. I keep all my pieces locked together using fishing butlers. These are the butlers with the bungee style cord on it. The fishing butlers are great. I use them on all my rods. I keep everything together. And when I go dunking, which is surf casting right here, I have my, right there, that's my bell buddy. See, this is the large size bell body. So, you know, I put a bell in here, the wire in the bell. So this is how I go out in the field. I have my bell buddy, my fishing butlers, my reel cover, and look at it. Very handy. I just put it in my palm of my hand. This is a 3-piece rod. This is a Daiwa ballistic 13-3. All my stuff here, I just go like this, just keep in the palm of my hand. If I bring multiple rigs, then I use more of the butlers here, and I just tie strap everything together and still hold it as one. And I have a strap that goes over my shoulder. So always try to be compact. Thanks. All right, guys, this is the spool tensioner here. This puts tension on the spool. How important is that knob? It helps with casting and it helps with the smoothness of the spool. So this way the spool doesn't over rev up when you're casting and you get no bird nesting. Let me give you a demonstration. Like right now, see? It's going to be very hard to cast with the clicker on and the line just coming out so much. So first thing we do is the top part here is the clicker. Take off the clicker. Okay? Now it's smooth, right? You don't hear the clicker, but look at it. It's still, you still got to force it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to loosen the line tensioner. Okay? Now we got it loose, and we're going to click this into free spool. Look at this. See and hear that? That is what we want. Now, if you were to tighten the line tensioner, the spool tensioner, look, can I get that effect? You loosen the spool tensioner. That is how important that spool tensioner is. So when you're casting, it's not going, when the lead is taking your bait out, what it's going to happen is not going to overrun this. It's not going to cause backlashing if you get this correct. Now, the best way to get this correct is you go tight. Here right now it's tight, okay? Not going to do much. Then you loosen it about maybe 1/8 of a turn. See, now it's starting to go a little bit. Loosen it about another 1/8 of a turn. See, now it's still going more. Now we're going to loosen it roughly about a full turn. Look at that. That's a full turn. Now we're going to loosen it by roughly 2 full turns. Even better yet. A lot of people who are experts at this will fool around with the spool tensioner to help them get more distance. And just when the lead starts to come down, they'll tighten it up on this to act as a secondary brake. I mean, this, I would not recommend it. It's only the experts can do that. I'm not an expert either, so I really don't fool around with this too much. But I make sure that my line tensioner is preset to what I think is a good amount for what I use. Now, the reason why you want it spinning a lot like that is if you're using a really, really light weight, okay, or a light lure. Now, if you're going to use a heavier lead, like say about 5 to 7 ounce, you kind of want it to spin just a little, like that, but not too much, okay? That's why you have to kind of play around with your tensioner here. Your tensioner will always be underneath your knob. Now this is the Blue Yonder 7000 extended handle EVA handheld. That's bent in star drag here. It's pretty good. It also they call the CT model with the open frame, so it's easy to put your thumb here, and instead of putting your thumb on the line, I would rather put it on the spool. This is a Garcia. It is not a baitcaster. This is actually a conventional reel. This is the 7000. This is the larger one. They also make the 6500. These reels hold a lot of records for long casting. Some of the people who use these will go up to 300 yards. I'm happy that I'm averaging 100 yards with this. It's a good medium setup. I have it on my ballistic, my Daiwa 13-foot ballistic. It's a good matchup. I would say this is about a medium heavy setup. And the line I'm using is 50-pound Jerry Brown braid. I have 370 yards on this. It doesn't even look like it. It doesn't even look like I'm full to the top yet. Anything that can take out 370 yards deserves its freedom. But this is how important the tensioner is. You have to play around with it. I would suggest going to a park like I did. This is YPO Soccer Park or soccer field. It's good to come out here to any park or to the beach. You got to get the feel of your equipment, match it up with the right rod, and you just have to feel what's the best setting for you. For me, is when you tighten it up, finger tight like it is now, just come off one turn. See that? That's when I use a heavy lead, like about 7 ounce. I'm gonna go 2 full turns. Look at that. Or you can come across with 3 full turns. Okay. So, like I said, you just have to kind of fool around with this, right? You just have to see what works for you. That's tight. 1 turn off. 2 turns off. So, you know, I usually go around 2 to 3 turns, and I'm just now trying to figure out how to monkey around with the tensioner when I'm throwing it. Generally, when the lead starts coming down, the speed of the line going out lessens, but the spool's still going. So that's kind of when you want to stop it. But we have other things that will work. Let me show you that in a moment. Okay, I just showed you the tensioner here, the spool tensioner. Now, this has 3 ways of helping you cast farther, cast cleaner, and it's going to stop your bird nesting, or what is known as backlashing. Look at this side, different from the other. This is the meat and potatoes of this reel right here. Now, right over here, notice that? That setting is on 7.5. Alrighty? That's your centrifugal. Centrifugal means, you know, like a centrifuge. You see them on CSI shows where it's spinning with blood samples, and the more heavier particles go down to the test tube. This is what it means, is that when the spool here is spinning, is that this puts the weights, little tiny weights inside, out further, okay? So the higher the setting means that the ends are going to be a little bit heavier, so you're going to get that nice centrifugal effect, and it's going to be more for heavier weights. Now, if you're going to use a lighter weight, you would come down and maybe bring this down to about 1. But generally when you start, you want to start around 6 and try to get the feel of what you want. So you have to play around with your centrifugal. Now, the most important thing is your magnetic cast control. There are people out there like Jamie over at PMI, Pimp My Reel. He is doing such great work out there, and a lot of the companies are taking notice of what he's doing. He is installing earth magnets inside here to help slow down the spinning effect. The magnets, even though a lot of the spools are aluminum, and aluminum is not magnetic, what it does is when the spool is spinning, it does create a magnetic field, and the magnet here disrupts the magnetic field. Now this is a very small magnet on this one here, but on the models he uses very large magnets. So what you can do, like on this model here, I have this preset already. I use between 7 and 8. If you want if you're casting like say a light lure, let me show you. See where the red mark is right there? It's down to 1. So 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 is when you use lighter materials that you can cast out with. Now if you want to start, 6 is a good starting spot, all right? Now when I come up to like say 7 to 8, like right in here about 7.5, this is what I use for this setup, okay? Using a 4-ounce lead. 4-ounce lead with a medium heavy rod. This is a 13-footer. It's perfect. Now, if I was using a 13-foot rod and a heavy setup, I want to change this all the way up to 8 to 9, almost all the way up. And then I noticed that if you mimic the centrifugal setting with the magnetic settings, perfect. So whatever its settings here, it's also here. All right, that's the best way to use the two. So you got the combination of these two settings, and you couple that with your line tensioner. See it right over here? The black knob, that's your line tensioner. So the first thing you do is you do your line tensioner. You figure out what you're doing so you don't get the bird nesting or the backlashing. And once you get that done, then you figure out the weight used and combine that with your centrifugal and your magnetic cast control. All right? Now, this reel here, if you were to compare this to a pin, this would probably be roughly the size of a jig master. This is an awesome, awesome little reel. I haven't caught anything big on it yet. I mean, I've caught small sharks, I've caught some small rays, some trevallies, nothing big yet. I'm waiting to catch something big on it. But when you do, just remember that this reel here, this is the 7000, the Blue Yonder 7000 by Garcia. They make 2 models, the 6500 and 7000. This is the bigger of what they call the surf casting models, right? This is not a big cast, it's surf casting conventional model. Now, when you cast, sometimes I do put my thumb here, but if you get the settings right, this is thumbless. That's right, this is thumbless. You don't have to put the thumb here to cast this. But I noticed that when you do get a hit, some people will put the thumb here. You don't have to. Put it on the side spool. Trust me, that works better. You see that blue? This is the side spool. It's better to slow down your runs putting it over here on the side instead of putting it in the middle. Trust me on that. I mean, back in the old days, we used to put it here. We used to get the inner tubes for the bicycles, cut them out, put it over thumb it. Nothing wrong with that, but there's a few reels that got in the way from using your thumb. This is one of them. The Abu Garcia line has some really, really good reels, some surf casting reels that don't require the use of your thumb to slow down the spool. This one here, I think is the best of all of them, the Blue Yonder series. Give this a try, guys. Okay, other features. This is a star drag system. You notice how the drag is bent down into the reel, okay? This is a lot easier thumbing. See that? You can thumb it, and it's a lot easier if it's bent, if the drags are bent into the body. This is one of the innovations they have. Nice, decent long handle. Nice, firm EVA knob here to grab onto, especially when your hands are wet. Now, if you need to open it, instead of getting a screwdriver, look at this. They got knobs, thumb knobs, that you can just use your thumb and open it up. Okay, I do this about once a month. I open it up, I put a little oil on, not WD-40. I put a little oil on the points that need it, and I screw it back in, okay? Now, of course, you got what we just called the line tensioner, right here, the spool tensioner. You got your switch here to switch it in gear into neutral. And on this side here, like I showed you, we have our centrifugal controls as well as our magnetic controls. This is a solid reel. It looks really nice. It feels good. It is one of the few Abus that I've actually kept. I like this one. This is a 7,000. You also have the 6,500. The 6,500 has the push button over here, so when you're casting, that will engage the free spool of the spool. So this one here, like I said, it's a 7,000. This can handle fish. I think the biggest thing I brought up so far was maybe around 25, 30 pounds stingray, and the hammerhead shark I brought up was maybe close to that. But the big test would be pulling up, like say, a small pelagic or an inshore GT, the giant trevally. That would be the bomb. So give this one a try. It's a good reel. I would say it's a good medium short casting surf reel. I like it. Thanks, guys. Make sure when you're practicing, especially at a public place like this, or if you're on location at the beach, when you get your banks, make sure to clean all the burrs, the hole in here, all the little pieces of lead around, those are called burrs. Make sure that you round it out and you take it out, because heaven forbid, if this thing ever were to come off, you can actually kill somebody with one of these, punch a hole to a windshield, or just lose a lead in the ocean, which it gets expensive. So make sure to clean your burrs and look at it before you cast. Okay, thanks. All right, I'm just gonna attempt to cast here. And as you notice, no bird nest, no backlash, no thumb. Okay guys, kind of lost sight of that, but what we're gonna do, flick this up, tighten the drag a little bit. I'm gonna use my digital line counter. Let's see, right here. I got a digital line counter that I'm gonna put on the tip of the rod. So let me show you. All right, man, it's been a while since I last used this. Hopefully the batteries are still good. Here. So, I don't know if you can see this, but we're gonna hook this up. Okay, then we're gonna run our line around the wheel here. Like so. Okay, this measures by the meter. So let's see how many meters we got. First thing you gotta do, turn it on. Okay, there we go. Let's see now. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's saying it's at 0 right now. So let's bring the line in. Very windy out here today. And when you bring it in, make sure you use your thumb, spool the line back on correctly. You don't want it bunching up in one spot. And we're in luck today. The lead did not bury into the grass because it did rain here the other night. If it buried into grass, I would have to walk out. And another thing here at Waipio Park, a lot of the people who work here, the guys who cut grass, don't want you to cast here because they had problems with people leaving the lead out in the grass, and it says hundreds of dollars to resurface the motors of the blades when they go cut the grass. But they recognized who I was in my videos, and they actually sat by just watching. They said for me to please mention this so people be a little bit more responsible. So wherever you go and you practice, make sure you retrieve your lead because it can do damage. It really can. See what I do here? I'm using my thumb to put the line across back and forth. Of course, you take the clicker off because you leave the clicker on when you do this. It may sound neat, but you're also doing damage to the clicker if you leave it on. It's just like after you get a hit, you take the clicker off because you don't want to do any damage. This is 50-pound Jerry Brown braid. I got 370 yards on this. Went out. Okay, here comes the lead, and that's roughly my starting point there. So this is, we just chucked this 93.9 meters. So we're gonna have to figure out what is 93.9 meters. You know, meter is 1.3 feet. So let me, well actually, my cell phone here is my camera unit, so I'm gonna have to turn this off to figure what 93.9 is. Hold on. All right, I just put everything I had into that last cast. I wanted to power up to see what I'm gonna get. So, again, okay, the line's nice and taut. This one I might have to go get because of the angle. Okay, got the line reader. Okay, on. See, you gotta make it so it's like so. Okay, we're gonna wind the line around the pulley wheel like so, and it's still reading 0, so I haven't done anything yet. Alrighty. Let's see if we can bring this in without having to walk all the way across the field. When I first got this reel last year, I was averaging about 90 to 105. I wasn't used to it. Now I'm used to it. I want to see what the differences are. Tighten up a little bit more. When you bring it back in, never leave your ratchet on, because when you leave your ratchet on like that, it's going to do a lot of damage to your ratchet. So make sure you take it off, tighten up on your star drag, and when you bring it in, make sure Use your thumb and twirl the line back and forth. Come on, get out of the mud. There. Whoa. Wow. I think it's in the grass. Whoa. Whew. Okay. I think it went past the field into the grass because now it just came out. Kind of. Oh, it's definitely in the grass. The tall grass out there, as tall as me. Because it's skipping. There we go. Okay, now the line's coming in. See that grass field over there? It's just as tall as me. I think it was in there. Which explains why the birds didn't like that. So like I said, use your thumb and just put the line back and forth. It helps when you have a cup on a belt to position this. Granted, you know, I'm only using a 4 ounce. When I go a little bit heavy, like 5 or 6, I want to get a little bit more distance because I have the wind drag of the bait. So I usually go a little bit heavy to kind of help it out. But right now, I'm just chucking with 4. If I put on a 5 or 6, it probably would have gone a lot farther. Whew. A lot of line. Okay, there's the weight. Yeah, went into the ground. Let me go take the reader off. The reader says I went, all right, 108.8. As you can see, I went 108.8 meters. Let's see what 108.8 meters is. All right, 359 feet. That is what 108.8 meters is when you times it by 3.3 feet in a meter. So that's what I just went in the last one. So last year when I got this unit, I was averaging between 85 and 105. It really doesn't matter too much on the difference. I'm still averaging roughly the same. But this unit is great for casting. I did this with a 4 ounce. I'll go 5 or 6. I would have gone a little bit more, but I went down to 4 to lessen the weight so it would mimic that. Lessen the effect of not having any baits on it with the wind drag. So the units work very well. The Garcia Blue Yonder. This is the 7,000 model. It's the bigger model. The other one's the 6,500. They're great surf casting reels. Good for small to medium game. Thanks. All right, make sure at the end of the day to take care of your equipment. Now what I do is I bring this little spray bottle with water, and I use the water mist. So before I go home, there's gonna be times when this reel is gonna be caked with salt from salt spray. I just give it a quick spray, like so. It really helps keeping your units clean of corrosion and salt buildup. And I also clean the rods too. All right. And also make sure to bring a plastic bag, and I always throw my garbage away at the end of the day. Got to do your part. Thanks a lot.